Welcome back to the Hurry Up Offense Fantasy Football News and Advice for Week 10 of the NFL Fantasy Football season in under 10 minutes. Well, hopefully under 10 minutes. Around 10 minutes, we'll say. I am Smokey Rameriz, your Fantasy Football Pro. Let's go. Today's topic is about we can finally trust the process again. 2020 is finally over. That massive offensive season is finally over and defense is back, which means it's probably okay to trust the process of fantasy football once again. Hey, but first, let's get into the news. Oh, that Wednesday night fantasy football news dump. We'll start with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, not Aaron Murray and not Aaron Rodgers. Kyler Murray says that he's feeling better. He told news reporters today that he is feeling better from his ankle injury and he plans on being out there, although he is day-to-day at this time. So, I'm sure you want Kyler Murray if you have him sitting on your bench because he is a massive fantasy producer. But keep an eye on it because, as a matter of fact, Colt McCoy didn't put up much less than Kyler Murray would have if he were in there. Maybe it's the team. Maybe. Keep an eye on it. Also out of Cardinals camp, Rondale Moore is sidelined at practice with a neck injury and a concussion. So if you are in a deep league and you have been depending on Rondale Moore, you probably are looking pretty weak this week because I don't think he's going to play. You never know. Keep checking back. It might happen, but I doubt it at this point. Maybe though. Chase Claypool right now is week to week with a toe injury. Now this is bad news because as we've seen in the past, these big, giant, physical, dominating wide receivers on the outside tend to get turf toe for some odd reason, and they tend to have it for very long periods of time. It hinders them and it recurs at any given time. So you got to keep an eye on this. I think it will probably hurt Chase Claypool's production, and we can probably safely assume that he is going to miss this week. But that does mean more targets for Deontay Johnson and Pat Freiermuth, the star rookie breakout tight end. Now that is rare that happens. Michael Pitts is one thing. Kyle Pitts is one thing. But Pat Freiermuth, that's amazing what he's doing. Keep it up. Hey, Josh Reynolds has made his way to the Lions now. He's been picked up. Don't think it's going to matter. I don't think he's going to produce any more there than he ever has. Probably his best run for fantasy purposes was with the Rams out in LA. I don't know. It's probably not worth a pickup unless you were in a 16-team league with a really deep roster. I wouldn't even add him in Dynasty unless it's just a really deep league. Latavius Murray has been downgraded to doubtful for Week 10, so he should continue to be out. And we should continue to see Devonta Freeman continue on his renaissance. The resurrection of Deontay Freeman. Yeah, Devonta Freeman, that's it. Oh man, this is a bad day. But Devonta Freeman should be helpful to your fantasy team for the moment because he has been doing good numbers. I don't think that Le'Veon Bell is going to eat into that right now, so keep rolling him out at least until Murray comes back. Now on the other side of that Thursday night game, Tua is looking doubtful. I wouldn't say doubtful. It's not looking great though. It's going to be a game time decision whether Tua is going to play this week or not. And since it's an early Thursday night game, I don't know. So I say it's doubtful. I don't expect to see him out there. This finger problem is lingering and I don't expect him to play, and I expect Jacoby Brissett to get in there because these guys are not in playoff position anyway at the moment. I think they're just going to get through this game. The Ravens will probably run over them. Neither here nor there. If you have Tua on your team, don't expect him this week, but it is possible. But he's going to be hindered if he does play. It's not going to be great. It's true. It's damn true. Alvin Kamara is out with a knee injury right now. It's unclear whether he's going to play this week, but I'll tell you this. It's a dang good thing Mark Ingram came back to this team because if Alvin Kamara is out and you did pick up Mark Ingram, you are in a great position this week. He might play though. Keep an eye on it. Noah Fant is coming back for week 10, and boy, the tight end landscape needs Noah Fant. I think this team is kind of headed in the right direction. Noah Fant could see an uptick in work when he gets back, and I think he could be really good for your fantasy team. As most of you know by now, Sam Darnold is injured and wasn't looking good when he was on the field. He's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. He's going on the IR, and it is officially PJ Walker time. The XFL is back in effect, and let's see if the XFL's best player can actually do something worthwhile for your fantasy team. The guy is a dual threat quarterback who has the ability to run at any given moment and do it with the best of them. The problem is his accuracy and reading defenses is not that great. We'll see what he can do for the fantasy world, though. Clyde EdwardsHelaire is coming back. Is it going to give this Chiefs team a boost? I don't know. This team looks bad. This team looks god-awful right now. This team looks as bad as the Steelers did at the end of last season. I don't know. Something is wrong. The whole offense is not working. Travis Kelce is still tight end number 1, but he's not even looking like the original Travis Kelce that we're used to seeing. Something's wrong. I don't expect Clyde EdwardsHelaire to be anything great when he gets back. As if he ever was in the first place. Yes, he has been usable from time to time. He has not been a high draft capital caliber player. He's never been that great for fantasy. I don't want him on any of my teams. But if you really, really need him, you might need to push him out there because he's going to do something. Now let's get through the rest of the news dump in quick fire succession. Chris Carson is designated to returns. DeAndre Hopkins is still sidelined Wednesday. Chris Godwin is still out with a foot injury. Curtis Samuel is still sidelined at Washington's practice. Also, Logan Thomas is sore after his practice coming back and trying to get back into the game. I don't know that it's going to happen this week. It's not looking good at the moment. The guy still seems kind of beat up and I don't think he's ready to play yet. It might be another week. Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson are both in the concussions protocol. Dalvin Cook is still eligible to play this week, even though his legal issues that are going on. I'm not going to judge in either direction. Just know if you need him on your team, he's there. Rob Gronkowski is still sidelined Wednesday. Mike White is going to start for the Jets in week 10, and that is it for the Wednesday night news dump. Now let's get on to the game theory portion of the show. Today we are talking about trust the process. Guys, we saw it this week. A lot of people say it was a weird week for football, but if you really look back before the 2020 season when that offensive flurry just took over the entire league, we saw many weeks like this. This is not new to the NFL. It's new to the past year and a half of NFL. Games like this have always happened. Weeks like this has always happened. Now, that's where savvy fantasy football players can take advantage of this, because the process is what it's always been. The process did not work last season because every single player, it seemed like, in the NFL was on this dramatic, record-breaking season. Seemed like every usable asset last season was just on fire. It made it hard to predict because it wasn't the normal cycles and trends that we are used to. But now, maybe we're headed back in that direction. Pendulum swings in one direction, it swings back into the other, and you can go about analyzing your team based on the normal trends and cycles that we always are used to. I remember making an episode last season about how if we could even trust the process anymore, and I said yes, because eventually the game will return to normal. Crowds will come back in, and the normal noise pollution in a stadium will be back eventually, and it's going to calm down this offensive flurry that has taken over in the NFL. Well, we're here. That time is happening now. It's going to be easier to predict players going forward because of this. It's weird. It's weird to think about, but this is how fantasy football works. Guys, we're back to normal. That's great. People love offense. People love to see high-flying offenses. But for fantasy football, that is not always great, because if you can figure out which teams are going to have this offensive flurry from week to week, you have that advantage over your opponent. If everybody's doing it, then your opponent is scoring just as much as you, and you're not winning. I know it's great to see. It's a great product on the field when there's throws over throws and touchdowns and reception after reception and 500 yards of offense in the game. Yes, these are great games. They're fun to watch. But for fantasy football, we need normality if we're going to win and win consistently. That's it for the show this week. I am Smokey Rameriz, your fantasy football pro. Oh yeah, and if you want to watch me and Alex break down each game, predict the outcomes of each game, then please tune in to the scoreboard. It drops every Thursday right before this one, so if you look on the channel right now, it should be up and you will see it. That's it. I'm Smokey Rameriz, your fantasy football pro. I'll see you next week. Deuces.